Great job.
Oh, lovely. How are you?
Hey, everyone. I'm Joe Biden's husband.
Welcome to the Packy Run podcast. My name is AJ Lagambina.
And I am Dan Mayotte. Hope you're having a good day, good afternoon, or whatever you're up to, or whatever time it is for you this day.
Hope you're having a good time. Just a good time.
Yeah, I mean, we finally, after a little bit, we heard the results from the election.
We, with like 99% of the votes counted across the entire country, a bunch of them being recounted, but I think it's still pretty safe to say, based on everybody's projections, Joe Biden is our next president. So that's a thing.
Yeah, so we're not going to bore you, I guess, with that. We're going to talk about what we normally talk about, which are the two things we only know anything about, which are the Patriots and punk music.
That is true. But before we kind of dive into that, let's start with what are we drinking? It's the Packy Run podcast. We like our beers, we like our brews, we like our wine and stuff too. We've been all over the place with our drink selections.
That is true, and I'm kind of going a little bit away from the beer. I am currently drinking a Lasso Hard Kombucha. It's berry and ginger. I'm a big fan of regular kombucha. I don't know. I like it for the antioxidants, and it's a good alternative versus soda. And this is just a alcoholic version of it, and it's pretty good.
There you go. I'm gonna do my.
It's berry and ginger.
So I'm trying something new because I think the past couple of times that I've been drinking on the podcast, it's either been, my wine of choice or a cheap beer or something. I was in the grocery store, or water, or tap water. Always tap water. I've got a Black Abbey Brewing Company, Guy Fawkes Brown Ale. And hold on just a second. These bitch ass headphones. Hold on. Waiting for the earbuds to connect.
Yes.
Now I think we're good. There we go.
Okay.
That's a little more better.
So you're drinking Black Abbey.
I'm drinking a Black Abbey Brewing Company Guy Fawkes Brown Ale. Remember the 11th of November.
Oh crap! It is the 11th of November.
Yeah. So it's a brown ale, so it's kind of heavier. It's definitely a heavier beer for an ale. It's not like a blonde where it's like very light. It's not very hoppy. It's not very like IPA-ish.
What notes do you have? What notes is hitting your tongue?
Well, I have to tell you that there are some undertones of chocolate and
like really any other dark ale. That's not original.
That really brings out some of the nice sweetness notes. There's a subtle hoppiness to it that really adds to some bite, makes it nice and refreshing. Not too heavy on the carbonation. It's a decent beer.
Okay. I mean, and it's local, so that's pretty cool too. I was like Googling it while you were trying to sort out your headphone situation real quick.
Sorry, hold on.
Yes.
All over the place. There we go. Sorry, I'm all distracted because it was my birthday yesterday, and welcome to the wonderful world. Everybody and their grandmother's been reaching out, which I appreciate. I love hearing from so many people.
Yeah, this is your birthday show. Although, I mean, it's not coming out on your birthday, so.
Yeah, and it's recorded the day after my birthday, but listen, we can't all be winners.
I mean, it's your birthday week. That's all that matters.
That is true. It's been a quiet birthday week, I will say.
I mean, you got your one wish.
I did. I got my one wish, which is a perfect segue into our first topic of the day, which is the Patriots got back in the win column. Fucking finally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm happy that they won. Our defense was horrible. Mm-hmm. Cam, probably this was his best performance of the year. Jacoby and Myers, career game
of Jacoby and Myers.
Yes. career game. Very happy to see what he's doing. I just picked him up on wires on fantasy. So hopefully he does something for my fantasy football team. Because I haven't been doing well at all. Like Brady played a stunker last week. But
Oh man, did you get to watch that at all?
I didn't, but I wish I was like, oh man, Drew Brees and Tom Brady, like it might be the last time I'm able to see both of them play like against each other. And I was like looking at the score after like the second quarter, like 31-0. I was like, I'm not tuning into this.
Nope, it was absolutely pitiful. And there was so much talk. It's so funny how even the broadcasters, like the entire media, which is one thing that I was not expecting about the Brady transition down to Tampa Bay, was the fact that the media was all going to become Boston sports fans, basically. Like, we've dealt with this for 20 years where we always have that confidence of just like, oh, it's going to be a vintage Brady comeback and everything else. And I feel like so much of the country always kind of looked up at us in New England and they were like, you guys are full of it, even though we pulled it off all the time. So
yeah.
It's so funny to watch him playing in Tampa Bay and hear the announcers like going into halftime and stuff being like, well, it is Tom Brady and he's got all these weapons and he's got Antonio Brown and everything. Like, I would be shocked if this doesn't end up being like an absolute shootout, even in the second half. And it's like, did you watch the same first half that I just watched? Because that was pitiful.
Brady has come back. 28-3 and everything like that. So, but I think part of that, if we're going to talk about that Super Bowl, you can't talk about that Super Bowl without also crediting Dante Hightower and his strip sack of Matt Ryan. Like, that was the momentum changer. But we're not going to talk about that. We're talking Patriots and Jets.
Yeah, it was ugly.
It showed us a few things. Cam, it looked more comfortable in that game, and Josh McDaniels had a solid plan throughout this game. I think, anyways. The play calling was a lot better, and Cam finally has confidence in that one wide receiver and can check it down to somebody and expect them to catch the ball. Jacoby Myers, which that's exciting to hear. We might have something there.
Yeah.
The defense was pitiful.
Yeah, and I think not all of that, but a little bit of that can just be blamed on, we haven't had Stephon Gilmore. We're going to be talking about it all season. There were opt-outs. There's so many variables when it comes to actually getting people on the practice field, and it's like so much of that stuff does make sense, but it doesn't erase the fact that that was not a great outing by the Patriots secondary at all.
Yeah, and between like J.C. Jackson being burnt toast, but he did redeem himself with a pick, so that was good. But I think the coach for the secondary is Steven Belichick.
Yeah,
not his best outing as there. And Gerard Mayo, like the linebackers coach for the Patriots, he doesn't have a lot to work with as far as like linebackers goes. We really missed Bentley out there, even though last week he was not playing well at all. Yeah. But it shows like he is a key contributor. If anything, this game shows how valuable Stephon Gilmore is and what he really means to the team. He's the best player on this team currently.
Yeah, I don't think that's that much of a hot take. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it as like a hot take. I will say this, there is one person to look out for that the Patriots might be willing to sign. The Falcons just released Talk McKinley. He was a former first-round draft pick. He's an edge rusher. I think the Patriots could really use someone like him to be on the team and pick up through the waiver wire. As it currently looks right now, the Patriots have claimed a lot of people, a lot of tight ends and offensive weapons off of waivers. We just signed Dante Moncrief to the practice squad, as well as Dylan Cantrell and David Wells. They're also on the practice squad as well, especially with Asiasi and the other rookie tight end sidelined with some injuries.
Yeah. So it's not a tank year. I think that Speaking of that, are you familiar with the Jordan, not the crying Jordan meme, but the meme from the last Dance, where it's Michael Jordan sitting back in his chair and going, "And I took that personally."
Yeah, I have seen
There
that
was a
one.
meme. There was a meme that was going around about like Patriots reported to maybe Patriots might be tanking this year to try and get Trevor Lawrence or whoever, and then it's the Jets logo over Michael Jordan's face, and it goes, "And I took that personally."
I mean, there are reports that the Patriots want Trevor Lawrence, and maybe they do. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is claimed to be a generational quarterback prospect, probably the best one since Andrew Luck, which that's pretty high praise. Andrew Luck coming out of college was the guy until the Colts decided not to put an offensive line around him.
Yeah.
Lucky for us, we do have some good offensive linemen. We have the rookie out there. I forget. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he was 6th round pick from Michigan, which coincidentally the broadcasters for the game were like, "This is the 20th straight season they have a 6th round draft pick from Michigan," which I think that's kind of a funny little like fun fact.
And again, the patented Josh Lutz sigh comes into play. Just. It was, I mean, there's not a lot to say about it. It was not a pretty win, but I wanted one thing for my birthday. Well, going into my birthday, I wanted one thing, and that was a Patriots win, and I got that. And then I got selfish, and I bought myself a birthday present last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What did you end up getting?
You guys won't be able to see this, but I'm showing Dan the box. I went to Target and I picked up a Lego set. It's the Boba Fett helmet from Star Wars, which I'm about halfway through building. I was talking to my parents, and I've been struggling to figure out what I want for like birthday or Christmas presents or anything for like months. And I was talking to my parents yesterday, and for whatever reason, I had the thought of like, man, I should get a Lego set. So I went to Target and I did the thing, and I'm thoroughly enjoying building it.
Those things can get expensive.
Yeah, this one was actually on sale, which I was really excited about because I was walking up and down the aisles, and it was like, I was kind of thinking I wanted to do one of the big ones.
Like the Starship or whatever? Like the Death Star?
Who in their right mind is spending $300 on a Millennium Falcon?
Some rich millennial, probably. It's like it's the same people who have the money, like the same millennials who have the cash to buy like $100,000 like Charizard Pokemon cards, like the first edition.
The return on investment is not there at all. And even like the opportunity cost of the whole thing is like, okay, like I was willing to part with my, whatever it was, $40 and change for this cool little thing that's basically just going to be taking up space on a shelf. But I don't have much in the way of like trinkets or things to take up space on a shelf. So like I'm going to be able to look at this thing and be like, hey, I built that. It looks cool. I like this. But I'm not sure how I would feel about having a $300 or $400 Lego set sitting on my shelf after I finish building it and just being like, yep, I did that, I guess.
Well, I mean, I think of it this way. If we're going into lockdown again, which I mean, it's getting pretty close to that point at this point.
The writing's on the wall.
The writing is on the wall, especially like Massachusetts and New York shutting down early.
Tennessee is going to be rapidly heading there.
So, I mean, to spend $800 on like a Lego set that like you're going to it's going to take you like a good month to complete. But then again, you could have spent that $800 or like $300 on something else.
That's true.
But not much left to talk about with the Jets. What do you expect this week facing the Ravens?
I don't know what to expect. I think
we're going to compete in this game.
I'm cautiously optimistic. Seeing this team at the beginning of the season, this team was really good at rising to the occasion, you know, like even, I mean, it was a tough loss, but even the loss to Kansas City was like, we competed with nothing.
Yeah, we did.
And when we were arguably way healthier, we competed with Seattle as well. Like we've seen these flashes of this team being decent over over and over and over again this season. I'm torn because on the one hand, I think that it's a huge ask for this team, the way that it is right now, to turn around and win against Baltimore, which they've had their own issues this season, but I still think that they have an overall better roster. But I've also seen what it looks like when this team has a little bit of momentum. Like when we have a little bit of wind in our sails, we're still playing to a degree Patriots football. So
yeah,
I'm not in the prediction business, but I think this is going to be a good one to watch at least.
I think it's going to be entertaining. I wonder who is going to be the one that keeps up with Lamar Jackson. He's going to be very tough to stop. Is it going to be Devin McCourty? Is it going to be one of our linebackers? Is it going to be Duggar? That's going to be an interesting thing to watch for. The Ravens have pretty good cornerbacks. They have Marcus Peters and as well as Marlon Humphrey. Two of those guys are, I'd venture to say, top 20 cornerbacks in the league. So it's going to be very tough to throw the ball on them. As far as linebackers goes, they don't really have much. So that could bode well for running.
Yeah.
I would expect a run-heavy game, and I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be closer than what is either the score is going to say or anything. Like, I think it's going to come down to a couple mistakes on either side. I mean, both teams, we're very well coached, and so are the Ravens. So that's what I would expect to see.
Yeah. It's going to be, I think if nothing else, it's going to be a really entertaining game, especially if things can stay quiet for the rest of the week and we can just get to Sunday.
Now, I'm a little worried about Cam. There was an interview that he came out and said he does have some neck pain from the Jets game. So that is worrisome, especially
he took a brutal helmet to helmet.
Yeah, he did. Especially since the Patriots do not like Jared Stidham. Jared Stidham has fell out of favor with Bill Belichick, and that is, it's not just what I am saying. It has been well reported from a lot of people, a lot of sources. Tom Curran from NBC Boston, also whoever the ESPN reporter is from the Patriots, they've all reported that Jared Stidham is not well received by Bill Belichick.
And that makes sense, especially given what they're saying. I mean, these are a lot of the same sources that were saying there was trouble in paradise between Belichick and Brady, and basically everything that they were talking about for 3 or 4 straight years ended up being exactly the reasons why Brady left. Like, they're reporting that, he didn't show much of a drive to try and overtake Cam as the starter. Obviously, he's had some injury issues. He's had a lot of just technical difficulties when he is out on the field. That's not a shocker. I think that he was so interesting going into this, when this season was ramping up. He was interesting to people, and people were excited for him because he was an unknown quantity.
Yeah.
And now we've seen some game film. We've seen what he does. Clearly the team has been watching him in practices and stuff, and they're looking at this guy and going, well, we drafted him in the 4th round.
Which
he's
what it means is, especially for next year in context, either Cam plays very well for the rest of the season, which could happen. I mean,
yeah.
Although his numbers are not looking good with 2 TDs and 7 picks, but there's more to the story than just the stats tell.
Exactly.
And he looked really good on Monday night, and I think he's comfortable. He looks more comfortable in this system. And I don't see Jared Stidham overtaking him. So Patriots Twitter and Patriots Facebook, please stop with the Cam criticism. Jared Stidham is not the answer. He's not it.
And I think we're too far into the season to hope for tanking the season or anything. Let's just go out and be competitive and continue to do things the way that the Patriots have kind of always done them. Enough of the Cam hate, enough of the talking about tanking for Trevor and everything else. Let's just let this work out. It was never going to be that great of a season to begin with. It is what it is.
But I mean, we have bright spots. Damian Harris, hopefully he's not injured this Sunday. Hopefully he works out. He's better than Sony Michel, who we spent a 1st round pick on, which...
Yeah.
Oh man. Anyways, you have anything else to add for either this week or last week of Patriots news and things, hot takes?
Nah, I think it's pretty apparent where we are, what we're doing, how the rest of this season is going to go. A lot of this is going to be up in the air. I think we're still competitors. We still have the opportunity. I think this team has a few more surprises up its sleeves, but I don't think nobody needs to be very excited and like boisterous about where we are, but nobody really needs to be sitting back and talking about taking the season either.
Yeah, that's
We're
true.
middle of the pack for a year with the ability to reload and make some moves going forward is a much better position than tanking, or I would argue I'll take this year over, with the way that Brady was playing and acting within our system last year, I'll take this over another year of that too. And that might be my hot take that might be my biggest hot take for this entire season, is just I'm enjoying watching this team the way it is now more than I enjoyed last season, especially the back half of last season.
Interesting. Well, I don't have any more hot takes for this, but we'll probably, this one's going to be a Sunday night game where we did a new thing this Monday night where we did like a halftime analysis and after the game show on Instagram Live. On both of our personal Instagrams, we started a little bit on the Packy Run, but did it on our personal ones. Check us out. It's AJ Lagambina on Instagram, and it's Man Dayot on Instagram. So check in with us on Sunday. We'll probably be around like 10.
Probably 10 Eastern, I think. Yeah.
10 Eastern. So definitely watch that. And also follow us on our social media, Packy Run Pod on Twitter and Instagram for our latest takes and
memes.
And memes and me live tweeting during the game.
Yep, we've come into our own with what our social media identity is.
Yes. Now moving on to our next subject, we're going back to Does It Hold Up?
Does it hold up?
And this one is being picked by AJ because his birthday. And tell us your pick.
This week, to absolutely no one's surprise, I have decided that we should ask the question, does it hold up, in reference to Fall Out Boy's debut full-length album, kind of, as they did put out kind of a full-length, kind of an EP before this, but they kind of distanced themselves from it.
I can't find that anywhere.
It's not on streaming services or anything, but they did put out a record called Fall Out Boy's Evening Out with Your Girlfriend. It's terrible. So instead we're doing Take This to Your Grave, originally released on May 6th of 2003. This was Fall Out Boy's first and only real record for Fueled by Ramen Records, subsidized by Island, who had the rights of first refusal on that, which is kind of a whole other story with this band and how they got to the point where they are now.
I think it's interesting, and maybe we could go a little bit into that, but not so much. I think that's such a smart move for them to kind of plant the seeds with Fueled by Ramen and then eventually move on, gain that sort of traction with Fueled by Ramen and then gain it with Island Records.
And this is probably the perfect time to go in on that a little bit, so there are really, when it comes to massive, like, arena selling huge guitar rock bands in the year 2020, there's really just three that come to mind right away, for me at least. It's Green Day, Fall Out Boy, and Paramore.
Not the Foo
Weezer's
Fighters?
Probably up there. Foo Fighters are kind of in their own category. Foo Fighters feel like, it's funny because the Foo Fighters do a really good job of varying their sound, and like, I have a lot of respect for them, but they still for some reason feel like a legacy act.
Yeah, I mean,
The Foo Fighters feel more in line with like a Black Sabbath kind of deal, or a Metallica, than they do.
they feel more in line with Nirvana. And I mean, would Dave Grohl be who he is now if it wasn't for him him being in Nirvana? That is that's a question, and I think there's like a real debate there about whether he would be at this status without Nirvana. But we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to get into that.
Yeah, we don't even really need to get into the Green Day thing either, because Green Day is also feeling more and more in line with that Foo Fighters kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, it's guitar-based rock, feels kind of like a legacy act though. So when it comes to guitar-based pop music, like relevant pop bands that are guitar-based, that are like an actual band, if you're going to put that kind of thing on it, I would argue that, okay, yeah, now you really only have two. You have Paramore and you have Fall Out Boy.
Yeah, and I think eventually speaking, in the next couple years, All Time Low will be in that category as well.
All Time Low was almost in that category, but I think they made their jump to really kind of push for radio and to go with like a major label was such a heel turn. And when that did happen for one album, like that band kind of imploded for a couple of years before they went back to Hopeless Records and rebuilt their whole thing.
Okay, that's
so
fair.
There's caveats there for sure.
Yes.
But you bring it down to just Fall Out Boy and Paramore. They're still huge. They still get a ton of radio play. They're still selling out arenas. They are still bands that are doing their thing that came from the punk rock scene, basically.
Yeah.
And they did things almost the exact same way, both of them. They were grassroots, playing in basements, playing small clubs and stuff like that. And when they initially got signed, they got signed because of interest from major labels.
Yep.
From Atlantic Records and Island Records. Interscope was in play at some point there, I believe, as well. And what they decided to do was go, we'd love to be that big. We'd love to be huge. But what we want to do is we want to put out our records on this smaller indie owned by bigger labels, but still with giant air quotes around it, this indie label fueled by Ramen Records.
Well, if we talk about the year of, what was it, 2002 that this came out, or 2003?
2003.
2003, like Fueled by Ramen is not the same Fueled by Ramen as it is today. It was still independent and wasn't bought out yet.
Well, and this album is what kind of got Fueled by Ramen to be on track to be what it is now. But it was still, like I said, it was a very similar structure of, we want to put out this debut on this indie label. You can say it's for punk points or for cred or for clout or whatever, but I do think that from the business standpoint, that's really smart to start your career instead of coming out on this major label where anybody that's even kind of tangentially involved with the punk scene is going to look at you and be like, you're signed to Island Records though. Like,
yeah. And I mean,
we talked it.
I think it's that's one of like the smartest moves that they could have made. They also signed with Crush Management, which at that time, one of the smallest management firms to have anyone. Now at this point, they have like Green Day, they have Hole, they have like many other major artists. But they were like kind of that first sort of seed band that was part of Crush Management.
Yeah, and this album kind of became the capstone for kind of the continuation of guitar music being relevant on radio for a lot longer than it was really supposed to, because obviously we've seen the way that the radio landscape has become EDM, dance, hip-hop influenced almost exclusively now. But there's like, and I'm not really comparing the two, but like you see like the ramp up in the 80s of hip-hop kind of becoming a huge thing, and then along comes Nirvana, and all of a sudden guitars are back on the radio, like big punk influenced guitars, which then paves the way for like pop punk bands and stuff. So you get a lot of the Blink-182 and the Green Day and stuff like that, and some of the soft rock stuff kept it up there too. And then 2003, it was like, we're poised to see all of the EDM stuff and all of the auto-tune and more and more and more of the hip hop stuff that we were supposed to see. And then you get this band that comes along and it's just like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if emo bands were the thing for 10 years? And that's how you get, like, this album is how you get My Chemical Romance. This is how you get Paramore. This is like this band, and I would argue starting with this album, they kind of changed radio to a much lesser extent than Nirvana did, but they changed radio to be like, and labels and management teams and everything else. They were all like, we need our Fall Out Boy. Like Boys Like Girls, a Boston band, basically a Fall Out Boy ripoff band. They don't exist if, I think it was Interscope Records who was like, shit, we need our own Fall Out Boy. All American Rejects does not get their shot if it weren't for Fall Out Boy breaking through with this album. Like,
I will say the point about My Chemical Romance, My Chemical Romance were like a little before this band. I mean, they were kind of came out at the same time, but I think this without this album, we wouldn't have like the big pop punk records of beforehand. And not to mention this, they have the punk and hardcore roots in them. They have more punk cred, scene cred, than probably a lot of other punk bands that came out before them. They have more punk cred than Blink-182. Blink-182 were like choir boys compared to these guys. They came from Pete Wentz and Andy Hurley, and a lot of those, everyone in that band came from the straight edge vegan scene.
Andy Hurley still plays when he's not on tour with Fall Out Boy. He still plays in a bunch of grindcore and hardcore, like vegan straight edge bands. He's like, that dude just likes playing drums, and he just like that's all he does is he plays drums, and he lives in Portland. Like, he's still like that dude's probably made at least a solid couple of $1 million off of this band, and he still just plays in hardcore bands.
I think that's so cool, and I mean, it's not just Andy Hurley. We see it from Joe Timon. We see it from Patrick Stump. Eventually, Patrick Stump did a guest vocals on Weekend Nachos. For those who don't know, Weekend Nachos are a power violence band, kind of in that same sort of grindcore, hardcore vein.
Yeah, this band has just like, it's part of the reason why I still kind of carry the torch for them. I mean, there's a lot of cringe, and we'll talk about it on this album, and there's a lot of it throughout all of their entire discography. There's a lot of missteps, and there's a lot of head scratchers, but I don't think anybody can take away the fact that, I mean, this is arguably one of the top 5 biggest bands in rock music right now in the year 2020, and they're still doing a lot and contributing a lot to like the punk scene as a whole.
Right. And I mean, how many punk bands can you say that end up on teen magazines? And these they're like, Pete Wentz for a while in the mid 2000s was a celebrity. Like the way
if you Google or look up on YouTube the name Pete Wentz, TMZ still catches this guy out with like his kids or with his girlfriend or something in LA and asks him about like current events. It's really weird to think about the fact that he is still like, for whatever reason, he became like a celebrity.
Yeah, like the way that public, like paparazzi publications talk about like Post Malone, for a while that was kind of like the same sort of press that Pete Wentz got, which that's crazy. And that's still not an exaggeration there either.
Yeah, he was absolutely massive, and he was, I mean, Patrick Stump is kind of coming to his own now, but especially when this band was first starting out, like the front man of the band was not their lead singer.
Which, I mean, that's very rare, and in a weird sort of way, it kind of, Patrick is probably the biggest rock star that doesn't have an ego. Like he was cool with Pete taking the lead on it. Yeah, I'll just sing, you literally be the face of the band.
Yeah, and that also touches on another reason for like this band's longevity as a band is like the lack of ego. I mean, that doesn't necessarily come across in their music. Like there's a lot of chutzpah to be passed around when it comes to lyrics and the way that this band was like perceived in media and stuff like that. But they had a big, I think it was actually during the 10-year anniversary of this album, they did like an oral history of the band, and they were talking about how from day one they all agreed that everything that they made was going to be split 4 ways in this band. Wow. There was going to be no you wrote this song so you get this like more of a percentage or whatever. Everything's split 25% between all 4 guys.
Which, I mean, I think a lot of bands break up because of that kind of stuff, but I think the reason there isn't really ego in this band is because when you're in a local hardcore scene, no one has time for ego. If you have a big ego and you are kind of an asshole, you're kicked out, plain and simple. You're kind of blacklisted.
Or if you do manage to get past that, like it's always part of the conversation, especially in the hardcore scene. There are so many bands that come up, and there's like, I can't even think of that many examples. I mean, maybe Rick Tillett Life from 25 to Life. It's like,
That's a good
yeah,
example
25
right
to
there.
Life, seminal hardcore band. But also, anytime you mention them, everybody's kind of like, yeah, that guy.
I mean, he's really funny to be friends with on Facebook. I will say that.
True.
If you ever are bored and have a moment, try like Facebook searching like Rick to Life. It's hilarious.
Or even Patrick Kindlin from Self Defense Family. There's another one where there's there's baggage there. I personally think Patrick Kindlin is one of the smartest people I've ever heard talk. He's not always right, and a lot of times he's just a little bit too much of an edgelord for my tastes. But I do think that guy's super smart.
He's very articulate, but yeah, he's kind of a douche at times. But
absolutely. But we're losing the forest for the trees. Let's talk about Take This to Your Grave.
Yeah. So as far as reviews go, and these are not new reviews or like reviews that are indicative of that time, but these are like retrospective reviews or like lists that you need to listen to. It's ended up on BuzzFeed's 36 pop albums you need to effing die, but you need to hear before you die. It ranked number 9. Rolling Stone 50 greatest pop punk albums in 2017. This ranked number 5. Rock Sound from the UK, the 51 most essential pop punk albums of all time. From 2014, this ranked number 7. And Krang 51 greatest pop punk records 2015. This ranks as 11. And this ranks pretty highly as far as like a classic pop punk record, but we're gonna see if it does hold up or not, or if it's just nostalgic based.
Yeah.
Because nostalgia glasses kind of ruin everything.
Especially with this, like we've had our big 90s nostalgia. I think that's what you and I kind of grew up on. A lot of the Nirvana and the emo revival kind of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of those bands and a lot of those records got by on just pure nostalgia. And we are now in 2020 at the point where this generation, this early 2000s kind of generation, it's coming up on 20 years since this came out, and the nostalgia is strong.
Yes. So the first track, Tell That Mick He Just Made My List of Things to Do Today, which
Before I get to my points about this song, I saw the word Mick, one derogatory term towards Irish people. Don't necessarily agree with the usage of that word. However, it reminds me that the 6-pack of beer that I bought, the Black Abbey Guy Fawkes, was actually sponsored. The podcast got sponsored this week by a very dear friend of mine, Mr. Sean Harkins, who sent me a couple of bucks for my birthday on the Cash App to get a 6-pack of beer specifically to be used for this podcast. So Sean Harkins, thank you for being our first sponsor. I have referred to him as a Mick before. He knows how much I love him. That is our relationship. I don't necessarily like or agree with the term, but it's funny when everybody's on the same page. So...
Well, as somebody who has 80% Irish heritage, the term Mick does not offend me. But
so now we've bent over backwards about that enough, and we've thanked our sponsors. So let's move right on.
Yes.
To man.
Well, we see a trend with this band right out the gate. They love to make ridiculously long song titles. Not just on this album, we see it later on. We see it the next album, and like all throughout their career. This is kind of like their like stick.
True. This was one of the first songs that my first band covered, along with Spin by Taking Back Sunday. We were called With Good Intentions. We've talked about it on previous podcasts. We used to cover this song, and yeah, I still remember sitting in a basement with a PA system playing this over and over again. This
reminds me of Taking Back Sunday.
There's a lot of that on this album.
There is a lot of... I made a lot of notes about like Taking Back Sunday. Did Tell All Your Friends come out before this record or after?
I think about a year before this record came out was Tell All Your Friends.
So you can definitely hear the influences. Like, I hope you choke on those words, that you kiss that bottle, stop burning bridges and drive off of them. Like, it's the brand new and Taking Back Sunday type of lyrics.
Yeah, it's that very... I think it's easy to write it off as just, it's tongue-in-cheek. But especially in 2020, in the wake of, all of the social discussions that have been had, there are a lot of things on this album where it's like, ooh, sad angry white boy back at it again.
Yeah. I was looking at the lyrics on Genius, and it said solo. It's like one of the weakest solos. I put air quotes on it. It sounds more of a pop breakdown towards the end.
It's basically just it's the guitar part that's played underneath, I think, the chorus, just played over again, but with no lyrics. So
yeah.
Can you call that a solo? Probably not, but
no.
It's there.
It's there, and so the song starts off with the phone dial, and then
which still to this day, I think iconic seems a little bit too dramatic, but that is that thing where the minute you hear that just dead tone from the phone straight into the drums, it's like, yep, I know exactly what I'm in for.
I think it's like a good start to it, because it kind of it's intentional, and it's kind of like a good way to start a record, I think. It kind of reminds me of, if I could compare it to like contemporary punk bands, because this is like a very punk song, I would say like Iron Chic or Off With Their Heads, but you also have Patrick, who is essentially a punk vocalist, and like Iron Chic and Off With Their Heads are very like guttural vocalists.
Yeah. So like right off the bat, you get that from a production standpoint, it's intentionally gritty. Like for an album that is so very pop leaning, especially in the vocal department and everything else. Right. It is very much just like, you can tell that there was some money put into it. You can tell that there was a budget. You can tell that it was recorded professionally, but there's still that like, you can tell that a lot of this was recorded to tape. There's not a lot of the Blink-182 kind of like effects fuckery.
Yeah.
It's gritty, but it sounds analog. It sounds like a punk record in the early 2000s, late 90s should sound. Like it's got that warmth, and it's not a byproduct of, oh, this was recorded on the cheap. It's like this band knew the sound that they were going for, and you can tell that just by like how weirdly heavy so much of this album is. Not heavy in the songwriting, but like the production, the way that the drums are constantly just pummeling and threatening to take over everything. The guitars are distorted, but they're never that super like chuggy heavy kind of thing. Like it's organically heavy, which is part of the reason why this album is still something that people come back to, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, it's they know how to write heavy songs. I mean, they were doing it for like however long that they were all in hardcore bands for. Yeah. So they know how to write those parts, and this is kind of like a call back to the previous bands, but with more pop. As far as breakup songs go, like unlike Fountains of Wayne, which we looked at, this is Taking Back Sunday. This is any other of those like brand new, any of those dime a dozen like pop punk bands back in those days.
I think the story so far owes a lot to this record.
Yeah.
Like that just kind of, you don't like me, or this relationship isn't going the way that I thought it was going to go, so fuck you, I'm gonna write songs about it, and I'm gonna try and write the most biting line I can because I want you to feel as bad as I do.
Yeah.
So, which in 2020 is kind of cringy.
And I mean, they wouldn't play this. This wouldn't be a song in their set list today by any means. And like, they're all 4 years old at this point. They don't feel that same sort of way, and they don't write like this anymore.
That's true.
But next,
I think solid opening track though. I think that's because we talk about opening tracks a lot on this podcast and how they can really kind of go and set the tone for what's to come. And I think that this track really does serve that purpose to a great extent of just being like, it's a bunch of hardcore kids, but they're going to be playing pop punk music with really, really strong pop songwriting ability. Like that checks out.
Yeah, that does check out. Coming up next, we got Dead on Arrival, which it's actually the first commercial single released by this band.
Yep, that is true. And it's another one. It's kind of an unrequited love song. It's very pining, and I wish you liked me as much as I like you. It's early 2000s emo music.
Yeah, I mean, so Patrick Stump did an interview with All Pressed, and he viewed himself himself as an artsy-fartsy dude who didn't want to be in a pop-punk band, and he had composed much of the band's lyrics, the first songs on this record. So he was like kind of reminiscing about this song in the fact that he never really viewed himself in like to be a pop-punk band.
Yeah.
And you hear it in his lyrics, or like not lyrics, but you hear it in, I think Patrick Stump has one of the most he might have the most distinctive voice in pop punk. And I don't think that's...
he's always, between the vocal layering and just the straight up R&B, like vocal tendencies that he always has, like he really has this great way of taking, if you completely took the vocals out of this album, it would just be, this is a pop punk album that came out in 2003 that was a little bit more influenced by hardcore than most of the other pop punk bands of this kind of generation. It would be nothing to write home about. And then you introduce Patrick Stump, who just has this insane voice. And he doesn't even show it off all that much on this album, the way that he does on later albums, where that's kind of the thing that carried this band through so much. But here it's just kind of like, oh, this album gets so much nostalgia and gets so many passing grades from so many people because holy shit, have you heard this guy sing?
Yeah, I mean, it's different. It's different than I would venture to say he's just a pop singer.
Yeah.
He's not
got
really
a great vocal range. He's got a higher vocal range, and he knows how to use some of those higher registers, which again, to bring it to an engineering standpoint, like that's the dream when you're working on something like this. Like it's hard to get two guitars and a bass and a drums to all like play nicely together in a mix. Never mind when you add in a vocalist whose range sits right with the guitars and the bass, as opposed to something like this where this guy can do those lower end kind of things and can do that very efficiently, but his natural kind of sweet spot and a lot of the stuff that he can do in higher registers is just like, oh yeah, I can make this soar over everything else and I don't have to do that much in the way of manipulation.
No, like unlike Parker Cannon from The Story Is So Far or Joy Boyton from Transit, not to take anything away from those guys, but you can hear the vocal manipulation and you can hear the engineer kind of fixing it up a little bit. Trying to figure out
a way, like, how can I carve out a little bit more space to make sure that the vocals are there, as opposed to this where it's just like Sean O'Keefe, who produced the album, he's done a little bit of work with the band in kind of the modern era of the band, and like I envy that guy because man, to be able to work with a vocalist like this who also has like the musical chops to put these kind of things together, like that's impressive.
And you're also working with like Andy Hurley, who's I think one of the best drummers, severely underrated.
And that will, again, you know, we're talking about this album, but let's talk about the band as a whole. I mean, that's one of the things that I think is the most impressive about this band, the way that they are right now in 2020, is like Andy Hurley I think Andy Hurley is just every bit as good of a drummer as like Travis Barker.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Andy Hurley strikes me as the same kind of musician as Brad Delson, who's the main guitarist for Linkin Park. It's never particularly flashy. Like some of the live shows, Andy Hurley does a drum solo and he kind of shows off his skills and stuff, and you can sit back and be like, wow, what a great drummer. And Brad Delson has done the same thing where every once in a while he just rips a solo or he'll do something and you're like, oh wow, like this guy knows his instrument or whatever. But especially when it comes to songwriting and the way that songs appear on albums, 9 times out of 10 you're just sitting there and you're like, this guy just stays in the pocket so well. Like his parts serve the song so well, as opposed to someone like a Travis Barker where you can sit back and you can be like, oh man, what a technically great drummer. Like look at all these fills that he can do and look at how well he can manipulate time. And you know, he had like, especially with Travis Barker, who has so much of that like rap kind of tendency where he really like plays with the beat and he wants to manipulate everything, but it just gets way too busy sometimes, as opposed to somebody like Andy Hurley where you're just sitting back and you're like, you almost don't notice the drums until you try to like isolate that in your headphones and be like, wow, like this guy's doing the thing and he's just so efficient.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll talk more about the drums actually with the next track, but I still want to continue with Dead on Arrival, which I think it's still one of the big hits for Fall Out Boy, I would say, in a way. I mean, they still play it at live shows.
Yep.
Which you can't say that for a lot of bands. Like a lot of bands will not play anything from their first record anymore. I'd be shocked if Green Day, for example, plays anything from 39 Smooth or Kerplunk. punk. I wouldn't expect them
It just
to.
doesn't happen.
I'd be very surprised. The only other band I can think of that does that is Weezer. But I mean, the Blue Album is a classic record,
And that's
definitely
still one of those. That's still one of those albums where people talk about Weezer, and the first thing you think of is like, "Oh man, I love Say It Ain't So."
that's so true. And I mean,
This is one of the least cringe, I think. Lyrically, I think this is one of the least cringy kind of songs that this band has written. It's still that very like, oh, I'm sad, I'm heartbroken or whatever. But it's the little turns of phrase and stuff that you get. Like, this is side one, flip me over. I know I'm not your favorite record. Like, that's a great kind of way of saying what you're trying to say with a turn of phrase.
I like that. And we see that a lot in music where like they reference kind of a record or flipping the like over the record or something like this. But I think this is a very clever way of doing it.
The songs you grow to like never stick at first, so I'm writing you a chorus and here is your verse. Like this is still one of the best choruses I think this band has ever written.
Yeah.
And you get your gang vocals, you get your woo, you get all the hallmarks of like, yep, this is a punk band writing a pop punk album. Like the guitars are huge and present, mid-rangey, and like this song is still, there's a reason why they keep playing it. This is one of the classics.
Yeah, it's one of the highlights. It belongs on the Greatest Hits album for a reason.
Yep.
And another song that is the Greatest Hits album, Grand Theft Autumn / Where Is Your Boy?
Auto-tune.
Really?
That, not the whole way through, but like the chorus where it's literally just Patrick Stump singing. It's like the first thing, and it takes me out of it a little bit. Especially
the beginning, like the acapella part?
Yeah, it takes me out of it a little bit because you get these first two tracks of just like, oh yeah, like it feels produced. It's a pop punk album from early 2000s. Like there's a lot of production kind of things, but it's almost like when this song almost feels like when you're watching a movie and a character like winks at the camera and immediately you're just like, you're no longer focusing on the movie, you're no longer focusing on the piece of art in front of you. You're immediately kind of taken out of it a little bit, and you're just like, oh, you're just pointing out to everybody that you're watching something on a screen. That's how it feels with that first acapella part at the beginning, where you blatantly hear the manipulation of the auto-tune in Patrick's voice, and it's just like, oh, okay, what just happened?
I mean,
it's iconic. I love it. There's
it doesn't
a reason why
bother
this
me.
song is.
It doesn't bother me.
And I'm not even saying it bothers me, but it is just like a conscious thought that I have every time, especially this past time, like yesterday or 2 days ago, when I actually did my homework and listened through this album front to back. You get those first two songs, and then the first thing that you hear in this song is just that blatant computer manipulation. You're like, oh, this is. I mean, if this song had come out this year, I wouldn't have thought twice about it, because of course it's going to sound like that.
Well, a little background on this song. Continue your point. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, obviously this year you hear something like that and like that's just how voices on records sound. They always have that production thing to them. But on this record, you listen to those first two songs and for the most part, it's very organic. It's produced, but it's very much just like, oh, this is the sound of this band playing in a studio. And then you hear that and you're like, oh, hello, computers. I forgot that this was the turn of the century.
Well, this almost didn't make the record, and Patrick and Pete reportedly didn't want it to be on the record. And also Patrick hated the acapella part, which as somebody who was briefly a vocalist for a band, I would hate it too. Not really a fan of that, and it's kind of uncomfortable, but I think it kind of works.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you bring producers in to help produce a record, and it's not just a band recording and doing all the stuff. Because, yeah, bands are really good at playing their instruments, but sometimes they don't really have the best frame of mind to know what would take their song to the next level.
Yeah.
And I think the acapella part really rings it up. It's also one of the 3 songs from this record that are in Drop D.
which became kind of I remember some of my first exposure to the absolutepunk.net boards. I remember
Yes.
that there was a guitar thread where people would clown on this band all the time because they play in drop D, and power chords are easy enough. Why do you have to drop down the E string to make the power chords even easier to play? Like because they all came from hardcore bands that probably played in drop C or like B sharp or something, where they were used to the heaviness that comes with dropping that one string down a half step. Relax.
It's that, and also there's like a clear, like, to talk about like 90s hardcore bands, there is that influence of like Earth Crisis and Hatebreed in kind of like that like really thumping riff. Like that's a sick, I love that opening riff.
Yeah.
That's like one of my favorite.
On this song?
Yeah.
Yeah, just those quick octaves that come in, and then when the drums drop in with the rhythm guitars and everything else, like, and that's one of those. I had this song in mind working on the first Psychic of Orange album.
Yeah.
When I did the song Thought So, and I play bass, that big distorted bass at the end of that song. I added that while I was in the mixing process because it was the reverse of this, where this song has that a cappella part at the beginning because that helps, like, after the first two songs, things slow down and you just get Patrick, and then it ramps up with the instrumental. On that Psychic of Orange thing, I did the opposite thing, where that song is just constantly kind of slow burning, and the way that I got it when I started mixing, it didn't have like a crescendo, it didn't have a finish, so I added that. So this is very much kind of the same thinking, and it was something that I had in my mind, where it was just like, this song builds, or this song could build, it just needs that extra piece to get you to the point where it's like, okay, we've created the energy by introducing another element or by taking away an element. So yeah, the Grand Theft Autumn was in my mind when I was doing that, and I completely get what you're saying there, where it's like, it's one of those things where I'm of two minds, where on one hand, yeah, the blatant tuning of the vocals during that a cappella part is a little bit just kind of like, oh, that doesn't sound as organic as the two songs that came before, but it also serves that great purpose of, once you get to the point where the rest of the band comes in, you kind of get why they just had that lull, because it makes that intro punch that much harder going into that first verse.
Yeah, and when I was doing my notes for this song, this is a hardcore song that happens to be a pop song.
Yeah, again, if it weren't for the vocals, if it weren't for Patrick Stump having inarguably one of the best voices in pop music, if it weren't for that, this would just be like, The Story So Far could write this song. It's hardcore tinged pop punk. Cool.
Yeah. And this is the hit of that album. Of this record, at least. This is the hit.
Yeah, this is the one. This is one of two songs that this band plays every show, every time from this album. It's always there.
And do you blame them? This is a fun song.
Yeah.
I don't know. I no complaints with this song. I think it's great. Now, was this their first single from this record?
No, I think Dead on Arrival was the first single, but this was the first quote unquote hit that the boys that Fall Out Boy had.
All right, I'm looking at it now, and it says, yeah, this is like the second song from it. Funny enough, this was actually, the title of this song was actually named after the Braid record label called Grand Theft Autumn Records, which I think is a little bit of a fun fact right there.
Yeah, they do.
All right.
They do a great job of showing off those, especially on this album. It gets kind of lost the further this band gets into their career, but this is one of the best examples of, like, this is a pop band that owes everything to the punk and the hardcore scene.
They do. And that was the big hit from this record, Grand Theft Autumn, Where's Your Boy? Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think I mean, I think it rightfully sits as a hit. Lyrically, it's not much to write home about. But it's, it's a Fall Out Boy song, and it's probably the first kind of introduction of what you were going to be getting from this band for most of the rest of their career. Like, it's very easy to trace Grand Theft Autumn through even all the stuff that the band does now. It's a great indicator of where this band was going to go.
That is true, and I would agree with that. Coming up next, we got Saturday. This is kind of similar to the last song. This is one of the songs that's indicative of what this band is going to eventually become. Kind of the self-referential thing. Lyrically, you get that bridge, or during the chorus, the 2 more weeks, my foot is in the door, me and Pete in the week of Saturday. Like, when the band starts referencing themselves, that's a thing that's going to continue to happen with this band for forever. I actually didn't know that, but this song kind of just jumps you right into it. With like both the vocals and instruments just immediately starting off. I think one of the most iconic lines from this band is "I'm good to go and I'm going nowhere fast."
Yep.
I can't tell you the amount of I've like, you could say this line and then you could start the beginning of this line and then somebody will like finish it. It's one of those like iconic pop punk lines.
Yep.
Which I think a lot of bands struggle to have that. But this is still one of the songs that they still play live. To me, I think it's one of the weaker singles from this band's discography, especially what we know now, like what their discography is. I think it's one of the weaker ones, but that's just a personal choice or a personal opinion.
And I think in the context of this album, I think this is definitely one of the weaker songs. I think the thing that has defined this song is the fact that it's almost always the closer when this band plays live. And that makes me think that if instead of going from single to single, instead of going to Grand Theft Autumn to Saturday, if they had gone from Grand Theft Autumn straight into Homesick at Space Camp and added Saturday at the end, this could have been right off the bat more iconic than I think it is to like the casual listener of this band.
But like they couldn't end this album with Saturday though.
I think thematically they could have. I think if they had tried to write this song as the album closer, I don't think it would have been what it is and what it became. But there is that like it
that's
does
fair.
End their concerts on a really strong note. So I think I think it could work as a closer for this batch of songs.
To not give away too much before we look at every song, but the Patron Saints of Liars and Fakes, they intentionally closed with that song because it's in drop D and they wanted it kind of to be like a transition to what we're going to see from Under the Cork Tree. That came from the band, which you can hear in that song, and we will go deeper into that song. But right now, Saturday.
Yeah. I think this is one of the lyrical highlights of the album, I will say, because it's so, especially in this band's early career, there's so much of it where you just kind of look back at kind of the more biting, that Taking Back Sunday, early 2000s emo kind of like lyrical tropes, and you look at it and it doesn't really age well. This one is so much more internally focused and is so much more, it's less biting and more introspective and more just kind of like observing the world around you, which I think is where this band usually kind of shines.
Yeah, so it's
the idea of the chorus being that like dichotomy between like I really want like the shorthand like goodness and the good feelings that come with like Saturday and the weekend, and I want to be around my friends, and I want to be like working through like the issues that I have in my life while I'm surrounded by the people that I love, while also being like, well, the weekend is great, but it also signifies that you get Saturday, which is going to feel great, and then that within 48 hours like you're right back to the old grind.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way of putting it. I didn't even like think of that.
It's still very pop punk. It's still very like short-sighted. It still is what it is, but I think the little bit of introspective thought that comes with this song goes a long way, where something like Tell That Mick is like,
feel bad for me.
That song is cool. What?
It's like Feel That Mick is, oh, I want you to feel bad for me. This is like more, oh, this is interesting seeing what this nightlife is and like what it means needs to be young and doing all these youthful things on like a Saturday.
Yeah, that like the introspective versus the throwing stones is where bands like this usually shine. When it's more about like the internal thoughts rather than the you broke my heart, so I want to make you feel bad about it. Like that's where it shines. And I think that's where like Saturday as a whole and in the context of the album, it's fine. But it shows a band, it shows what's going to come, especially later in the band's career, where it's so much less about the biting remarks and the sarcasm and the just like grossness. Like this song, I think that's why this song kind of stands up.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As far as this record goes, but in the context of what we know now about Fall Out Boy and Infinity on High, From Under the Cork Tree, any of their other big, huge singles that they've come out with, this is a little bit lower on the list of like singles, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree.
But moving on to Homesick at Space Camp, and
did you know that this band is from Chicago?
which that always seems to be like, that's such a pop punk trope. Always talking
It's
about
such a pop punk trope, but it's also it's become a meme in and of itself, especially in this, like later in this band's career. They love their hometown. They love Chicago.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
The opening riff or the opening sounds like Shower Scene by Brand New.
Yep.
That is what it sounds like to me, and I don't know if they intentionally did that, but like it sounds kind of like that. In a lot of ways, this kind of reminds me of the Boston pop punk band A Loss for Words.
Yep.
I think without
A Loss for Words owes, I think the entirety of the album The Kids Can't Lose by A Loss for Words is,
it sounds like this song.
2006?
That album came out in 2009.
2009. Okay, so yeah, that was, so 6 years later, I think Maddie and the rest of the guys from A Loss for Words were listening to this album and they were like, what if we made this album but from like Boston hardcore kids?
And you like see the similarities with both of those bands on like a smaller scale, of course.
Yeah, I like Maddie as a vocalist. He's not Patrick Stump, but yeah, it's not just the color schemes of the albums. It's not just the songwriting. Obviously there's a lot of other factors, but one of our favorite bands is A Loss for Words. And yeah, A Loss for Words doesn't exist without Take This to Your Grave.
Yeah, so definitely if you have a moment, definitely check out that record. For whatever reason, this song it sounds very fresh to me, and I think this could be released right now by like a current band, and it would probably be the hit for that particular band, especially with like the breakdowns, and you can hear they got a lot of influence of like the hardcore, but like there is that pop punk values in it, and it has that big hook at the end with these friends are new friends are golden.
Yeah, the one that always sticks out to me on this one is the second verse. Mm-hmm. It just hits you right in those like emotional teenager kind of feelings. The I can't forget your style or your cynicism. Somehow it was like you were the first to listen to everything we said. My smile's an open wound without you, and my hands are tied to pages inked to bring you back. That's, again, where a lot of songs in this band's discography and a lot of songs from their contemporaries, they talk about the breakups, and it's so much about that biting lyricism and that like, I'm angry, so I'm gonna write something mean because I want you to feel the way that I feel. That's
right.
So much, that line right there is very much just kind of like, it sucks that you're gone. like that's a great kind of breakup verse right there of just like, it's not blaming people, it's not faulting anybody, it's just sitting back and being like, this sucks.
Yeah, I think this is one of the highlights of this record.
I agree.
As far as like a single or popular song, I think this is like a good one from this record and this era of the band.
Yeah, it's good. I'm all right.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like filler to me. The bridge with these new friends are golden. It's actually from a Joseph Perry poem, New Friends and Old Friends, which I thought was very interesting. Yeah, I think that's really cool and clever songwriting there, where you took something and kind of like put your own interpretation of it and make it your own.
Yeah.
All right, next we have Sending Postcards from a Plane Crash, Wish You Were Here. And this kind of continues with the previous song of like communicating with somebody while traveling or like from afar, like a long distance relationship, and kind of having those vivid feelings of like a breakup.
Yeah, and in that sense, like it gets a little bit of a pass where it's just that kind of like it has that breakup song feel. And they do a really good job of making the instrumental feel, the way that the lyrics do and whatever. But again, you just get to that kind of like mudslinging lyrical trope that this band gets pegged with so many times. Like, I've seen sinking ships go down with more grace than you.
Oh, I made a note of that.
Cool, man. What a great turn of phrase, dude.
We
get it. You're heartbroken.
Like, we get it. And it's...
Fake it like you matter. That's a lie we can both keep. Ooh, I bet that really stung.
Like, who was the person who like wrote the lyrics for this song? Was it Patrick or was it Pete? It
says it was written by both of them. If I were a betting man, I'd say that this was a Pete Wentz penned one. Like, every friend we ever had in common, I will sever the tie with you. You can thank your lucky stars. Everything I wish for will never come true. Like, ooh, I bet you're big mad, bro.
Oh man, like, how old was Pete when he wrote this? Like 20 something? I know that Patrick was like way younger than Pete and a couple of those guys when they first like started Fall Out Boy. While AJ is looking that up, it looks like
he was about 24 years old. Whew.
Okay. He doesn't get a pass with that one. If it was
yeah, no.
There's no pass with that. Like by the
You're
time
old enough to know better.
You're old enough to know better, and you have like a fully developed brain at that point as like an adult.
Yeah. This is Sending Postcards is...
It's cringy.
Yeah, and it doesn't get much better on the next song either, but I think the next song is much more well-written as a whole song. So it's kind of...
The bridge does a good job of breaking this song up, I will say that.
Yeah.
And it's another one of those songs that are in drop D, which is... It's one of the 3 songs that are in drop D. Cool, kind of has that heavy feel to it. And they really drive home with it. I think Patrick's vocal performance on this song, especially the note that he holds on the bridge, it's one of the best vocal performances on this whole record.
Yeah. And
it just shows
not my favorite song on the album.
But I think like Patrick really holds his end of the bargain on this song though. Like the lyrics are just it's the thing that really pulls this song down for us.
Yeah.
Moving on to Chicago is So 2 Years Ago, which they frequently play this on tour, kind of like as a nod to their hometown.
Yeah, and
they also later used a section of this song for Save Rock and Roll, which is like the later album for this band. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
in a way.
They sampled a part in the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
The full bridge is, "You want apologies, girl, you might hold your breath until your breathing stops forever. The only thing you'll get is this curse on your lips. I hope they taste of me forever." That's big cringe, but they took that line, "until your breathing stops forever," and sampled it on that song, which had Elton John as a feature. Like, if there was any question how massive this band became.
Yeah. The verses were written by Pete Wentz and the chorus was written by Patrick Stump. Wentz was particularly on how the song came out. Backing vocals towards the end of the song were provided by Jason Pierre, from the lead singer of Motion City Soundtrack, which you hear a lot of interesting, not features, but like random people that you later find out who are like in the punk scene in this record. I think
And on the next one too. They just keep
they're not like in the
showing
focal
up.
point, but like they show up in like the weirdest way. Patrick has like a very interesting like vocal delivery in this song, and it's kind of it's interesting how it changes through the verse and the chorus. Very hard to explain, but it's like a different kind of like tempo. I don't know if you can like speak to that.
Yeah, it's so much of it is especially with Pete Wentz, when Pete writes the lyrics, you get a lot of Patrick doing almost like rapping, like taking these words that shouldn't fit into this particular bar and manipulating them to get there.
Yeah, you definitely hear that a lot.
So
in
you
this
get a lot
song.
of that. Yeah, you get a lot of that, especially in those verses. And then you get to a chorus where there's those sustained notes, and like it's almost the Taking Back Sunday, like dueling vocalist kind of thing, but it's the same guy just singing basically in two different styles and going back and forth.
Yeah, I like made a note that they did kind of explore that Taking Back Sunday dueling vocals, which I think is very pleasant to listen to. I'm curious to see what they do live. Is it because Pete Wentz doesn't sing live? I would assume it would
No.
be. I'd assume it would be Joe Toman who would be singing, because he does some of like the backing vocals on this album and later records. So I think that would be interesting to see live. Favorite part is where like the music cuts out and it's kind of like the spotlight on Patrick, and it kind of you see that a lot with this record, and you see this especially with this song. It's a big spotlight on Patrick and him showcasing his vocal prowess.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else
It's
to add?
so-
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, it's lyrically, it's man, with every breath, I wish your body will be broken again. Like, oof, come on, man. Leave the cringe at home. But other than that, I think sonically the song is really well put together. Like, it's catchy, it's big sounding, it's a great example of what this band sounds like when they're firing on all cylinders. But it is one of those things where you listen back to it in the year 2020 and you're like, this sounds a little bit too angry white boy for me.
I mean, I don't think it's as. I think the next song on this record is more cringy.
Oh, well, I mean, the name alone just has you kind of sitting back and being like, okay.
The pros and cons of breathing, which, fun fact, one of my old hardcore bands, our EP was called The Pros and Cons of Breathing. So I kind of have a soft spot for it, but I also, listening to it today and yesterday and this week, I kind of cringed a couple times listening to it, just based on some of the lyrics on this particular song. It's a yikes for me, dog.
Yeah, you know right from the first verse too. Bury me standing under your window with this cinder block in hand, 'cause no one will ever feel like this again. Like, really?
Really, with the dramatics. And then we have the chorus, which is, whoa, I want to hate you half as much as I hate myself, but I know that I could crush you with my voice. And then it continues with that.
That self-important weird dramatization is just, yeah.
Like I like.
Oh, it's a yikes for me, dog.
But we continue to hear this kind of trope in pop punk music, where you want the other person to feel bad for breaking up with you because you're such a white knight or whatever you are.
Tips fedora.
Yeah, I'm such a nice guy. This is just like a typical misogynistic pop punk song. It's very much of that era, and it's very dated. I love the screaming towards the end of it. I think that's
Very
great.
much.
I think that's great, but yeah, there's a reason why they don't play this song live much or at all.
Yep.
It's because
just there.
They don't feel that certain way anymore. Yeah, very angsty, very much just it's a footnote in their career for sure.
Definitely. But then we get back to another song that really kind of shows like this band's punk rock credibility.
There's like
in,
an interesting
in Grenade Jumper.
There's like an interesting backstory with this song. So the main, which I didn't know about until today when I was doing my deep analysis research into it. But the chorus is, "Hey Chris, you were our only friend, and I know this is belated, but we love you back." Which I think that's really cool. I think it's, at first when I heard this, I was like, this is it's kind of one of those songs that like you could replace Chris with any name. Like you could replace it with John or Matt or like anyone who like really shows up to like give your band support at the beginning of your band's career. It's kind of sweet in a way. Like that's kind of cool, and it's kind of like a shout out to those VFW hall like church basements. And we all, like when I played shows, when you played shows, we always had that one friend who would always show up no matter what. No matter how many people were there, they would just show up and always be the one in the front row, like hanging out, cheering you on.
Yeah.
Now the Chris to mention is Chris Gutierrez.
Yeah, it's the opposite of what was the song off of Insomniac that we talked about that was basically an answer to that club in California that basically banned Green Day for getting big.
924 Gilman Street. That was like the street, but I forget the name of the song though.
This is like the opposite of that. Instead of burning the bridge and being mad because your band got big and like the lifers and stuff called you a sellout or whatever, this is the band sitting back and being like, hey, like thanks for being the people that got us here. And then it turned out, I mean, especially in the early days of social media, there was a bunch of controversies and stuff about the guy Chris that they shout out specifically.
Which I don't know the half of.
There was some drama there.
I mean, I only have like a couple notes, but like I have the Cliff Notes version of it, where like Pete tried to steal his girlfriend.
There's a lot of people that think that Chris is the
what?
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that think that Chris is the guy who actually leaked the Pete Wentz nudes back in the day. Like there's weird scene drama.
Yeah, apparently Pete talked about him behind his back. He's a liar. He accused him of being a sellout. He broke Edge. He makes fun of fat fans and throws away gifts people give him, which, I mean, there's no way to verify that now. And I mean, I think when I read this, it just sounds like somebody who's just mad that one of their, like a local band just got popular and they're massive now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But song still holds up, I think. Like the energy and the feeling of the song as a whole is just kind of like, yeah, it's a punk song, shouting out their hometown, shouting out the dude that kind of helped them get where they were and stuff. Like it checks out for me, I guess.
I think it's good. They wouldn't play this song again, probably after all the drama with Chris, understandably so. And they're kind of past this point at this point. They're kind of, it's not really relevant to them anymore, but they still have those punk roots, I guess.
Yeah.
You wouldn't hear this at a Fall Out Boy concert.
Yeah.
Which I think is the case for a lot of these songs that we talk about right like today. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing because this band has also written bigger hits. Like we see with Dance Dance and Uma Thurman. What's that one I'm thinking of? Going down, down.
Sugar, We're Going Down.
Yeah, that one. I forgot the name of it. I'm the worst Fall Out Boy fan. But I also never claimed to be a Fall Out Boy fan. I would claim to be like the casual Fall Out Boy fan here.
I'd like to think that I had some sort of influence on that.
Maybe? I don't know.
I think living with me for 4 years kind of I might have nudged you in that direction.
I mean, I think I had like a Fall Out Boy, like from under the cork tree that I got for like $5 in like the Walmart bin, like senior year of high school. So that probably nudged me into it a little bit.
Yeah, that's probably where that CD is found for most people.
I mean, but it's one of the best pop punk records ever. That's not even a hot take.
You're not wrong.
That's not a hot take at all.
You're not wrong.
Moving on to Calm Before the Storm. Now, did they write a different version of this? Because I got Take This to Your Grave version. Oh wait, they put this out on like the Evening Out with Your Girlfriend demo originally. It's one of the only songs that made it.
Yeah, and they brought in a couple of changes to it. I think it's pretty apparent that it came from the old demo. It's very much like that demo was nothing to write home about. It was not particularly good, which is very similar to how I feel about this song in the way that it exists, like in the Fall Out Boy canon, I guess. It's there. It's just generic early 2000s pop punk. Anybody could have written this song. It would have been a B-side on some single or just filler on the record, which is basically how it is on this album. Like, it's there.
This is, yeah, I would agree. Like, it's unremarkable. It kind of drags a little. It's the longest song on the record, and it drags too long for me.
Yeah, that chorus, the chorus and the post-chorus parts it just drags. It feels like, and I know that there were songs written before and after this that the band used, but like, the chorus is kind of the big part that makes me feel like, okay, this is just the filler. Like,
they could have done without this song for sure, and it still would have been an 11 song album.
yeah.
Which I think is acceptable. This is like 39 minutes as it sits with that song. It would probably be more at the 35 mark, which that's still acceptable, especially with like a major label with like Island, but this was put out by Fueled by Ramen. It's there. There's not much to talk about in it. I think Andy Hurley had some great drum fills on this song, and the guitar solo, I put air quotes around that again. It's weak. It's not really a guitar solo.
Yeah.
This band doesn't rip a guitar solo. If you're looking for a pop punk band that will rip a guitar solo, this ain't it. This isn't your band, and they've never been that band. Never will be.
They've had a couple of moments in the rest of their discography, but for the most part, yeah. There's never been a Fall Out Boy guitar solo that's had me sit back and be like, oh my god, what a ripper. Like,
They're good at what they do.
the parts, especially, it is funny reading like the Genius annotations and stuff and being like, oh, you're gonna call that a solo? Okay.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to Reinventing the Wheel to Run Myself Over, which this is a Lifetime ripoff.
You can tell that these guys were in punk bands.
This isn't like Lifetime as in the punk band. They're kind of like a pop punk hardcore type of a band. And you get that very much of a New York hardcore youth crew sound to it.
You have to prove yourself.
Yeah, that is like a typical hardcore chant. That sounds like something that would be on like a Gorilla Biscuits album or a Youth of Today record, and which I'm not mad about. I think this is one of the coolest songs on this record.
Yeah.
I love that little guitar scrape in the beginning and like the galloping like drums. Yep. That's like the only way I could describe it. It sounds like
It's the rocket ship blasting off, bro.
Like, I mean, who else would you want to do that drumming?
Oh, it's so funny.
It's one of the quickest songs on the record.
And I think it is worth mentioning, this is, I mean, to the song's credit, it's very much like this is this band showing that they're a punk band or whatever. But we talked a little bit in a previous episode about video game soundtracks.
Yeah.
This one was on Burnout 3 Takedown, which is one of the first times that I ever like consciously heard this song. I had heard this song before I played that game, but I knew this album and stuff. And the first time that I had ever heard like a Fall Out Boy song in a video game or whatever was Burnout 3. So
it's a little bit of nostalgia,
whatever that's worth.
Yeah. It's also worth mentioning that Plain White T's drummer Damar Hamilton, if you listen to it until the very end, he's the one who did the final line in this song.
Man, remember Plain White T's?
Hey there, Delilah, what it's like in New York City.
Ooh, that song definitively does not hold up.
Yeah, I would venture to say, yeah.
That ain't the one.
Yeah. All right. This brings us now to the final song, Patron Saint of Liars and Fakes.
By
Song,
Taking Back Sunday.
yeah, this is Taking Back Sunday.
It's cute without the E. The chorus
yes.
is cute without the E.
I made a note of that. I was like,
So when it all goes to hell.
I was like, I had to double take it to make sure I was like listening to the right thing, because I was like, this is Taking Back. I'm not listening to Taking Back. It's Sunday, am I?
And will you tell all your friends? It's the same song.
It's the same sort of melody. It's the same melody.
Which, credit to both bands. I mean, they both eat this melody alive. I think they both do a great job, and it's kind of cool to compare and contrast the two, but they're the same song.
Now, is Tell All Your Friends in drop D?
No, I don't believe it is.
All right,
Most
well-
of those songs can be played in drop D.
Yeah, I mean, you can do any pop
believe
punk song in drop D.
Somebody who played in my cover band who listens to this, let us know. Roast me on Twitter because I'm a terrible guitarist. It's fine. But
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, this is. I was like, you got to be kidding me here when I heard it. Which I mean, I'm not. I think that melody is very appealing to the ear, at least to my ear.
That's kind of the thing, is that, like, on the one hand, this is a blatant ripoff of that song. On the other hand, they both kind of do different things with the same basic song structure and a lot of the same melodies, and they both come out sounding pretty damn good. So,
And like I mentioned earlier, they ended this song. They ended the album with this song to kind of launch into From Under the Cork Tree, which, if you listen to our lawyers made us change the name of this song so we wouldn't get sued, say that 5 times fast. It kind of, when you look at what comes on from like Under the Cork Tree in that song, it kind of goes straight into it. Which I think is smart and very intentional, and it just shows how they think different. Like, Taking Back Sunday put out Tell All Your Friends, and then they were like, oh shit, let's come out with the new let's come out with our next record. Okay, Tell All Your Friends Part 2.
yeah.
This band was like, all right, let's go for this new like drop D sound, like this heavy like chugga chugga sound.
Which is funny because they did, like, so Taking Back Sunday had internal strife. They moved on to like a different lineup, and they just went, well, let's prove to our fans that we can still be the same band even with new members. Here's Tell All Your Friends Part 2, also known as Where You Wanna Be, versus this band where it was just like, okay. And I think that without, so that same dichotomy, Take This to Your Grave to From Under the Cork Tree, that is the reason why you get, like, in a little bit of a more modern context, that's why you get A Day to Remember.
Yeah, for sure.
A Day to Remember, From Those Who Have Heart to Homesick, like, those two albums are the same thing as Take This to Your Grave to From Under the Cork Tree, where it's just like, okay, we know what works, we have a sound that works for us, we have a sound that people are listening to and that kind of get, so let's go in two directions at the same time. Let's make it way heavier, but also way poppier.
Yeah.
At the same time. Like, they really, like, they did a great expansion of that sound.
Well, and like I think in the context of 2002 and 2003, and even like, let's say, like that era of like that pop punk, the reason why, like, Taking Back Sunday had the opportunity to probably be as big as Fall Out Boy, maybe not as
And for
big.
a minute they were.
Maybe not as big as them, because, I mean, credit to, who's the lead singer of Taking Back Sunday?
Adam Lazzara.
Like, Adam Lazzara, like, to his credit, he is a good vocalist, but he's no Patrick Stump. Patrick Stump is miles ahead of him as far as talent goes. And also, Taking Back Sunday made the mistake of making the same mistake, not making the same mistake again, making the same album again. The Fall Out Boy were like, all right, we know what we want. Let's try this sound, like poppy kind of heavy drop D.
Yeah.
And we saw that with Brand New as well. Brand New, they went from Jude Law to, and your favorite weapon?
Sick Transit Gloria.
to Six Transit Gloria and
Quiet
from
things that no one ever knows.
yeah, and then they did another 180 with The Devil and God, and it really, that's why that band blew up the way that they did. Never gonna they're not worth mentioning again, but in the context of that kind of era of pop punk and emo, they were in that sort of vein as Fall Out Boy. And Fall Out Boy is like, now they're arguably bigger than all of those bands. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Well, I think who would have thought is really the question. I think the benefit of hindsight really kind of reveals all that, is that you see all of these bands that started in very much the same place, and of the thousands of bands that were doing this kind of sound, that were playing this kind of pop punk and were playing this kind of punk rock music, like you can see first album to second album to third album, like basically those first three records for all of those bands really kind of defined it. And so no, there's no mystery as to why Fall Out Boy is still consistently selling out arenas versus all of their contemporaries.
Yeah, and I mean like Take It Back Sunday is still a huge band, but they're not. They're like a mid-venue band. They're like, if I had to antiquate it to like Boston venues, Fall Out Boy is playing the TD Garden while Take It Back Sunday is playing the Paradise. Paradise is a great place, a great venue, but it's not TD.
Yeah,
it's not the Garden.
They're not selling out arenas the way that Fall Out Boy and Paramore are, and that's because, I mean, as much as people like to shit all over Fall Out Boy, people love to shit all over Paramore, and oh, you went pop, it's not even a real band, there's so many synthetic sounds and everything else. It's like, listen to everything else that's on radio. There's a reason why one of the only guitar-based rock bands that you hear on radio consistently for the past 20 years is this band, and not all of the other bands that you love. And I'm in the same boat. I'm sitting back and going like, man, like I want to hear stuff like this on the radio.
Yeah.
But that's not where the general population is at. And like you can think whatever you want. It's up your alley or it isn't. There's a lot of stuff from this band that just isn't, but there's a reason why this band has the longevity and has the ability to consistently, every album they have at least a single or two that cracks that like iHeartRadio kind of bubble, and they make their way back in there. Like, if you don't think that this is one of the smartest bands in rock music for the past 20 years, you don't understand the musical landscape as a whole.
Right. And I mean, to put it in context to other pop stars and other pop writers, them getting other writers to get in and help them write certain songs, everyone does it. And I think first off, they have the budget to do that, so why not? Yeah. Second off, if somebody is better at writing a pop song than you are, you might as well like have them help you out a little bit. I mean, they're from the punk scene. They're not from the pop scene. And
yeah. Well, I think there's also, and this is a thing with the handful of artists that I've worked with in kind of a producer and an engineer role.
Right.
One of my big things is consistency of output and truly building from the ground floor a catalog, because diehard music fans are going to go and they are going to search and they are looking to replicate that high. Yeah. So in the context of Fall Out Boy, somebody hears a song, what was
like Light Them Up or like Uma Thurman.
So let's take their latest single, if you'll allow me a second here. Singles. Their most recent single is Dear Future Self, Hands Up with Wyclef Jean.
Huge.
Which had a
huge
moment.
Artist.
It reached number 10 on the Billboard charts. So inarguably huge single, right?
Yeah.
But some kid that hears that on the radio or, sees it in their YouTube feed or something, somebody's going to hear that and they're going to chase that high. They're going to go, oh my God, I want more of this. Like a music fan is going to go, I want more of this.
All right.
And they're going to go searching, and the first place that they're going to look, because they can find out who the artist was, the first place they're going to look is what else has this artist put out. and they're going to look back at the singles, and they're going to look at the top played tracks on Spotify or whatever, and they're going to see Uma Thurman, Immortals, Young Volcanoes, Alone Together, I Don't Care, Thanks for the Memories, This Ain't a Scene, It's an Arms Race, Dance Dance, Sugar We're Going Down, Grand Theft Autumn.
True.
What a catch, Donnie. Like, you have to build. It's part of the reason why Bruce Springsteen is still a legend in rock music.
Yep.
Is that Bruce Springsteen puts out a song, and it might make it to radio, and it might be big, and it's probably going to be played in some sort of sports arena or something, but somebody's going to hear that song, and they're going to go back, and they're going to go, I want more of this.
Yep.
And then they're going to look back, and they're going to find every album that guy's put out, and they're going to find all of those singles. Like, you have to build it up to make it a career. And I think that you're going to be hard pressed to find, especially in the punk and the pop punk scene, you're going to be hard pressed to find another artist that has consistently put out decent music the way that this band has, and that has changed with the times and has gone for it and taken chances the way that this band does.
For sure. I think that's a nice way to talk about this band currently. But in the context of this record, do you think Take This to Your Grave holds up?
My blanket answer is yes. My nuanced answer is yes, until you start looking at lyrics.
I would say I would agree with that. Musically, and the performances are, I mean, that's the highs, and like it really showcases the band's ability. But yeah, lyrically, not the best content.
Yeah, I think if you were to introduce, if you could just hear the whole thing with zero lyrics, with like the vocal tones and the compositions and everything else, if this was somebody's first introduction to like alternative music and it came out this year with tweaked lyrics, absolutely, like this would be, I would argue, the gateway into, wow, there's a lot more music and there's a lot more output out there in the world besides what I'm hearing on the radio or whatever, you know, the Spotify algorithm is pushing towards me.
Right.
I think it holds up in all aspects except for those lyrics, where you actually go and you start looking through the Genius lyrics and stuff like that, and there's a lot of it where it's like, oh yeah, this came out in 2003.
I mean, it's indicative of that time period and also just how young they were. Obviously,
Yeah.
they wouldn't write a song like this anymore. But yeah, anything else to add?
No, I'll just say I still carry the torch for this band. There's a lot of cringe, there's a lot of things, and there's a lot of missteps throughout this entire career, but I really do still stand by this band as a whole and looking at them even with their more contemporary output and being like, there's a reason why this band is still consistently charting and is still consistently huge, where so many of the bands that do this sound, and some of them even do the sounds of Fall Out Boy better than Fall Out Boy does, but there's a reason why this band is still the one almost 20 years into their career, where other bands that have tried to do this have just completely fallen short.
That is true.
And you look at this album and you go, yep, all of the potential, all of the sounds that you hear out of Fall Out Boy now, you can draw that line directly back to this album. Like it does make sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I have nothing else to add. Let's get into some recommendations.
I got mine ready to go.
I got mine ready to go too.
I've got a podcast for you guys to check out. Friend of ours, her name is Carol Simpson. You've heard us talk about her before. And even before we knew Carol, one of the first people that both of us met during our orientation at the University of New Haven, her name is Val Lutron. Mm-hmm. The two of them have started a podcast called Tales from 20-something.
Ooh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, they are also hosted on Anchor, I believe, and they've got their first episode. It's a short little episode just introducing themselves. It's got audio issues the same way that our first episode had. Val has been back and forth all over the place. I don't think she's still in Boston, but she was for a minute. Carol is still living in New York City, doing her whole thing, living in Queens like she's Spider-Woman or something. They're just kind of talking about their lives and stuff. It seems a little bit similar to what you and I were doing when we first started this podcast. It's just two friends hanging out, talking talking about whatever they want to talk about, doing their whole thing. So go subscribe to them, check them out. Good people, good friends. Go support them. Nice to hear some voices other than your two white guy hosts here on the Packy Run.
That's fair. I'll definitely have to check that out. Mine is a music related one. It's this artist called Milo, Miloe, and they just put out a new EP called Greenhouse. Brand new artist. This is like his first release ever. It came up on my release radar, or like my suggested, and I've just been digging it. It's kind of has like similar Psychic of Orange vibes to it, some Mac DeMarco in there. I would check it out. It's really good. Everything That Should Go, that's a good song. That would be the one song I would check out from this record, this EP.
Hell yeah. So like we said earlier in the episode, we're at Packy Run Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Hit us up. I'm at AJ_LaGambina on Instagram and Twitter. You can follow our personal accounts. We have more followers on our personal accounts than we do on the Packy Run account. So when we do live streams for instant analysis on Patriots games and stuff, you can check us out there until you guys kind of get hip to the fact that following us on our actual social media for the podcast is the way to go. That's on you. You're all slackers. We love you, but get your shit together.
Just get your shit together, put it in the shit bag, bring it to the shit store.
Get your shit together, guys. Get it all together. Put it in a backpack. Take it to the shit store. Just get it together. Get your shit together. Which might be that's my second recommendation for the week, actually. For anybody that needs to hear it, get your shit together. We've been at this pandemic thing and everything else for weeks and weeks and weeks. We're all at that point. Get it together. Yes,
I would agree. All right. I have nothing else to add to this episode.
Gonna be a beefy one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a beefy one. But hopefully you're listening to the very end of this. And if you are, we appreciate you listening. And yeah, we'll be back next week on Thursday for more Patriot stuff, and also Does It Hold Up?
Where we are. All right, kids. We'll talk to you later.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.